Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And today I made Eric watch the Angry Video Game Nerd movie, which came out a couple of years ago, and which I actually did how we felt about. I have talked about this movie before, because Brandon and I actually drove to St. Louis to see it in the theater.
Have you ever talked about your bizarre love of Angry Video Game Nerd?
Just in that, I mean, maybe it's come up once or twice, and bizarre is absolutely right. And you know, I looked over at you a couple times and I could tell, I don't know how, but I felt like I could tell that you had that thing running through your head again where you're like, I don't know why Cap, of all people, is into this. And in a lot of ways, it tickles your sensibilities more than it would mine.
Sure.
I think.
I mean,
or at least it has. He goes to crude places that don't bug you as much as they generally would me.
I mean, he goes to some crude places that bug me a lot. I don't like any fecal jokes.
I don't either.
In general. And he goes to those places a lot.
But have you noticed, or do you agree with me? It's always obligatory. When he goes to those, it's not really his sensibilities. He's playing to his audience. He knows what sells.
No, and whenever you see...
somehow around... And I don't mean that those jokes feel more endearing because of that, but I find them almost easier to ignore because of that. I don't like that. I don't feel like he needs to go to those places.
No, whenever
But he talks a lot about how he's bored with profanity, and how he's kind of bored with those kinds of jokes. And I don't know, he's cleverer than that.
And whenever you see him... In a not nerd video, he's not like that. That's clearly not really his sense of humor, and that's a thing. I mean, God, when did he start doing those? Like, it's entirely possible that was his sense of humor when he started doing those, and he's just grown up a bit.
Yeah,
I think
that's exactly
I liked a lot of that stuff a lot better when I was younger, or thought making those kinds of jokes were funny when I was younger, and that's been my experience with the nerd. Is I kind of grew out of it. I liked his videos back in the day, and I've watched more since I've moved here because you like the nerd videos. But before I moved here, I hadn't watched one of his videos.
It's a weird buried secret for the longest time. Although some people were able to tell that I had at least watched some of those because of the influence in Spawn here.
Right.
And a couple of other videos here and there, but especially when you look at the earliest Spawn Year videos before I'm in that suit and I can make faces on screen, like you can tell that there's some influence.
Yeah, I like James Rolfe as a guy.
Yeah.
I tend to be more interested sometimes in his. I like every Halloween he does the Cinemassacre overview of a franchise.
One of the few things of his that I have not bothered to watch.
Years ago, he did no review of the Godzilla movies that I liked. I kind of wish he'd go back and do more with that because he loves that stuff, and I'd like to hear him talk about that stuff more. But regardless,
it's one of those things I can't fully explain, and I don't feel the need to justify it. I don't feel the need to explain myself.
You can't explain it to yourself.
Not fully. I mean, there are things I can pick out and say I like this about this guy, and of course there are plenty of things besides the crudity that I don't care for, or that I could criticize. He has, and like he comes right out a lot and says that he's not really a writer, and he has some weird grammatical issues here and there, and there's like some pet peeves and things of mine that he hits, but like I'm not prudish enough that keeps me from watching. I think he's funny.
Yeah, my biggest thing is the nerd thing seems played out even to him, and he's making them obligatorily, which he's all but said in his videos. That Mega Man video he did not too long ago, basically said, yeah, I don't want to make these anymore, but people still like them, so I'll keep making them. But we watched that Power Rangers review he did. That was great.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, I like stuff like that.
I think he's beginning to just make the ones he wants to, and he's letting it take the time it takes. And he recently made a video where he was just talking about it was called like What I'm Working On Now, and he was just and he was talking about how he's not trying to make like 2 a month like he used to, and how it just takes the time it takes. And he sounded pretty sincere, saying that he still wants to make them. So I think some of it's just the things he wants to tackle versus stuff he felt like he had
to.
And
one of the big things that I've gotten from his not nerd videos that you can see in this movie, he's not a video game guy.
No, he's not.
He's a film guy. He's far more interested.
But that's where his fame has come from. That's his reputation.
Yep.
And so he's thought of. I mean, isn't that kind of odd? And almost an irony where like and when you listen to him talk about, and now we're just reviewing this guy. we'll get it. I promise at some point we will get into the movie. He at some point started talking about how early on he made those first couple just as film projects, and it was never meant to be a series, and it was just, I mean, it's hard to imagine this now because everybody and his dog makes reviews, and especially parody reviews, but of course he was, I would say, one of the pioneers of this.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Almost everyone was inspired by him, especially the people that do like anything with stories or skits in them. Like, that all kind of starts with him in some way.
Yeah, but even just the idea of making a review that is supposed to be funny because you're talking about how outlandish something is and how much you, and especially how much you hate it and how much it's bothering you, was because his earliest videos don't do the story stuff so much. I
remember some of the earlier ones having the skits, like the Bugs Bunny.
No, I mean,
stuff
but
like
I mean,
that.
yeah, but that's still a couple years in. The
Is
earliest, yeah, and I don't know if you've watched those. I mean, that's.
I mean, I've seen the Castlevania one, which I saw years before I knew who the Angry Video Game Nerd was. I just saw that in its isolation.
Yeah, but if you go all the way back to Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, he's not even showing footage. He just says, "Don't play this game." And it kind of
It's been a long time since I watched
cartridge on the screen. Yeah, it's really like the angry Nintendo nerd days were kind of the pre-story, pre-polished, like remotely polished, stuff. But anyway, we should get into the actual thing. It's funny. I think we've broken into this because Eric and I haven't actually sat down and like talked much just about this guy. I mean, we've watched a few videos here and there together.
Yeah.
Just because it's something that weirdly I like. And if you know me and you know my family and you know my sensibilities, I understand why you might think it's odd that I like AVGN, but you should find it much, much stranger that my wife watches it with me.
Yeah.
She also loves the guy and the videos, and like a lot of the raunchier stuff hits her harder than it does me. So anyway, so I guess usually we start with synopsis. So this movie is a big conspiracy about the Atari games that were buried in the landfill in New Mexico, and as I'm sure the majority, if not all, of everyone watching this video and in our channel in general is probably aware, we have found those already, and it's a little bit unfortunate, I think, that we already knew for sure that they were buried out there when this came out, and very shortly before, this happens like weeks or months apart from each other.
I remember you talking about it before the movie came out. You're like, yeah, we're not sure if they're gonna finish doing their thing before he releases his movie, and that was the whole thing.
Yeah. But I think worse was just that we knew that they were definitely there. And I mean, it's not a big deal because I suppose they could have dug them up, and then in the silly continuity of this, the game could still be what it was. I mean, like it would almost have been worse if they got in the landfill and could tell for sure that there was nothing there. It's almost better that we found them.
And if you watch one movie about the landfill,
watch this one.
Watch this one. Don't watch the other.
I'm not saying that there's not interesting things to see there, but I'm with you. It's a little bit dull. But
I couldn't finish
reviewing.
I finished this
that right now, but yeah, sure. But anyway, so
that should be on the poster.
And I think he's going to do that every video. Like, someone please do me the favor of just learn Photoshop.
I didn't watch that, but I watched this. Or I didn't finish that, but I
learned so much about the history of Atari watching this film. I think it's also important to note real quick that the principal photography was shot well before we got this. I mean, it took them years to finally get this thing finished.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was a couple of years of post-production. I mean, it took a really long time. And I mean, it's an indie movie. He's making it pretty much entirely on his own. I mean, he's got he's obviously got help. It's obviously a professional production, as much as a B movie like this ever is. But he doesn't have a studio backing him. I mean, it's a completely independent project. And so I forget if it was as early as 2012 or 2013 when the principal photography was finished. But I mean, it took them a really long time to finally get the thing out, and I felt like we were just waiting for eons to finally see it. But anyway, so
was there ever a sense that this would be like the last nerd thing?
Not really.
Okay, because sometimes that's.
And he always said that he was going to continue afterwards.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. Because that's a thing sometimes with series. Like, that was going to be a thing with The Simpsons and SpongeBob. Like, the movie is the end.
It almost never happens that way.
Yeah, I know.
Even when they say it will. It's probably smart not to say that, you know? You could just make it that, although I think that would be disappointing for some people who expected to continue, where you're like, okay, and that's all you get! You know, read a book! But with this, I think some people probably wondered if he would even want to continue afterwards, just because of you know, all of this talk about how really difficult this was to make, and how much it took out of him and stuff. Like, you know, obviously he wasn't making the nerd videos hardly at all as they were working on the
That
film.
might be where I drop off then.
Yeah,
it might just be they stopped coming out,
did.
and I was just like, oh, okay, I guess he's not making those anymore.
But anyway, so the idea is the nerd, who does not have a real name, he's just the nerd, he's just the angry video game nerd, is being asked by everybody and his dog, like in real life, to review the E.T. game, and he refuses because it's the worst thing ever, and he doesn't want to have to do it. And it's not just because it's really bad; it's because he doesn't want people, he doesn't want to encourage people to play too many bad games, and he's already seeing that and this is kind of a thread even through his videos where the nerd will talk about that, where, oh no, I am responsible for getting people interested in these things that I'm trying to push them away from. I'm trying to repel them from playing them, but they play them anyway because they had to experience it for themselves. And it's because there's this new game coming out that's a sequel to the original E.T. called E.T. 2, and it is intentionally bad because he has popularized this game in through just refusing to review it, and all of the other you know terrible things he's reviewed. And so he goes out to the landfill to try to prove that the games aren't really there, and all this hubbub is about nothing, and stumbles upon this conspiracy that the game itself is actually a map of Area 51, which looks precisely exactly like what's in the game. It's
Except
hysterical.
there's no holes everywhere.
That's true. Yeah.
That was weird.
I guess that's just the one thing that Warsaw added, so that they would actually have a game to play. I don't know, but if there were holes, E.T. himself could actually pull himself out, because the actual alien they find, which is what is at Roswell, can do that and then come up. And so throughout the course of the movie, he discovers that that not only is the myth not a myth about the cartridge, but that it actually is the key to what happened at Roswell, and ultimately ends up pointing toward the beginning of the universe with Death Moixix, which is yes, Moixix, which is at the bottom of Mount Fuji, and that's why the logo of Atari looks like Mount Fuji. And then we have a big giant kaiju. I think that is true. That I've never looked up, though. I'm not sure, but that seems like a thing he probably didn't make up. I don't know. But there is a lot of made-up stuff, obviously. So anyway,
Mount Fuji's the mountain in the Dexter episode, right, where the big monster comes out of?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while. But obviously, the whole structure of this is built around a bunch of AVGN tropes and just things that Rolf likes a lot. And if you're familiar at all with that series, you'll see so much iconography and imagery and just types of shooting and silly special effects that pop up all over that show, and the things that he's most passionate about shooting, and things are really funny, and it's kind of it's kind of a big tribute to silly B movies,
and by the end of it, kaiju movies specifically.
Yeah,
like he clearly really loves Japanese kaiju movies and things like that.
Well, you remember he became a new Power Rangers fan.
Yeah, he became a new Power Rangers fan, and I know he loves
because
Godzilla.
Of that, yeah.
I don't know if he's done the Gamera movies. That would be fun if he did those, but
I think he's talked about that. I forget, though.
So,
yeah. But anyway, so what did you think of this, Derek?
So, I've seen a couple of movies by like YouTube people or internet personalities and things like that. I watched the first one or two that the Nostalgia Critic did. I
tend to stay away from them, generally speaking, but
yeah, I watched Red Letter Media's Space Cop, which is a little different because they're not playing themselves from their show. It's just kind of
and they also make movies.
Yeah.
And of course, I mean, he thinks of himself as a filmmaker first, but this whole thing took over, you know. But sort of like I was supposed to be a writer, and I've ended up writing more for videos than I have actually books and things. It's kind of the same thing. So and like him, I had to take off in order to write a novel. Maybe part of the reason I like him is because I like things that have happened in his life resonate with me.
Well, it's interesting that while you're making Spawn here is when you find him, because that's kind of when he's taking off.
And while he's making this, yeah, sure.
But I think it's largely better written and acted than most of the other things I've seen. That are by, like, internet personalities. Like, I feel like this could run on Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
Maybe you up the budget a little bit.
Well, some of that is they went to a real actor pool.
Yeah. But even he's less stilted than some of the other internet personalities when they have to actually, like, act.
Yeah. And that was a little bit of a concern, right? Like, could he hold his own for 2 hours?
Well, and it's interesting because I think he does it better here than he does in some of the nerd videos.
I think so too.
He's got some chops. I'm not gonna say like he's a thespian, but like he's got some chops.
Some of it probably helps being on screen with other people, because he's usually acting alone.
Yeah,
and I mean he is directing himself here, but I think having people to play off of is probably helping his acting chops quite a bit. Yeah,
but so I thought this was a lot better written than most of the other internet personality video or movies I've seen. Which really surprised me, because I was expecting it to be somewhere around the level of the Nostalgia Critic videos. And you can buy those on DVD too. Like, they're, releases. But it's...
So you're saying it fits in the same category?
Yeah, absolutely. And there have been a couple other people that have done stuff like that too. I think this is significantly better written than any of those. I think this is better written than... The thing I kept thinking about was those movies in the 80s and 90s that we did, where it was just, we just like took, like, either a stand-up comedian or B, someone who was famous for like a sketch, and we just gave them an entire movie, and they almost always sucked.
Like Good Burger.
Well, I like Good Burger.
Yeah, but
that's exactly the kind of thing.
It's in that category.
Yeah. Or Wayne's World, which is,
is a good movie.
Probably the pinnacle of those kinds of films. I was thinking more like Chairman of the Board with Carrot Top and things like that.
Even Biodome. Well, but I guess that wasn't based on a sketch.
No, and that's just Pauly Shore. Like, he's an actor.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But I was thinking of those kinds of movies, and this is better than a lot of those weird comedian star vehicles. At least on the writing level, it's far better written.
I'll go on record to say I think this is better than Good Burger, but I don't hate Good Burger. There's things in that I think are really funny.
I don't know if I can...
I also waited too long to see that. Like, I didn't see it when I was a kid.
Oh, I saw it when I was a kid. And that's probably why I couldn't put this above it, just like nostalgia reasons.
Yeah, fair enough.
I do love Good Burger. But yeah, no, this felt kind of like one of those, where you take the character they're known for and give them a story, and I think he did really well. I would be more interested in seeing him stopping doing nerd videos and doing movies.
Yeah. You mean even as that character? Or
no.
Just other things.
Yeah, no, I kind of want to see him do something where he's not tied to all of the stuff that he's known for and is just doing the stuff he wants to do.
Yeah.
Because when you get to the end, you get to all the weird kaiju stuff, like... I was like,
oh, this is the movie you want to be making.
Yeah, this is the movie you want to be making.
But to be fair, it's not like it suddenly becomes a different movie exactly. Like, it still fits in that, because he throws that stuff into the nerd videos a lot too.
That's true.
You know, I mean, this is that obligatory. He doesn't do this every episode, but this is that big. Suddenly we run off with ourselves 10 minutes. Him with like Nintendo guns and stuff shooting a giant monster. I mean, that's the end of this film. It's the Mario 3 video.
Yeah. But my big takeaway is I wish he did more things like this. Because I think he's better at this than he actually is at reviewing. I mean, I like his videos, but I think he's better this way. I like this is what he wants to do, and it's very clear that this is what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And so I thought on purely on a scripting level, I thought this was really good. I thought it was. My big worry in the beginning of the movie was that everyone was going to talk like the nerd, just in the over profanity, over vulgar kind of speech, and that really dies off real fast. Like, it's not like they don't swear; they still swear.
You probably partly thought that because of the boss.
The boss
at the video game store, who was funny.
Yeah, no, he is funny, but I was like, oh, is everyone gonna be like this? And they're not. And you see, like, the rest of the movie after the first 10 minutes, I think is more James Rolfe's comedic sensibilities and like actual comedic sensibilities and things like that. Like
it's almost like those first 10 minutes are designed to get the people that are there for the raunchy stuff into it.
Well, and the only time you ever get that is when he's intentionally doing like the nerd shtick where he's giving his opinion on something. Yeah,
but there's also some gross out humor that the movie didn't really need.
Yeah, there's a little bit of gross out humor, I guess. But
the throw up thing, didn't need that.
Yeah,
that was real Nickelodeon.
That was real Nickelodeon. But no, I really liked this movie. I really liked I like when we get to the end and it gets into all the big special effects that.
You mean the small special effects, right?
Yeah. But it knows that.
Yeah.
It's not trying to hide it.
That's why it works.
Sometimes it's having fun with that.
And I don't know how you feel about this, but he even intentionally sets that up and foreshadows it in the first act when he wakes up from a dream and says, "Even my dreams are low budget." Like,
yeah.
He makes sure the audience knows that this is intentional.
Yeah.
I don't know that the fourth wall breaking stuff really works because it doesn't happen often enough, and I'm never sure if he's actually really aware that he's in a movie. You know, when it only happens a couple of times. He has that scene where he's like, "I just said that for the trailer." And that comes out of nowhere, and like it's been playing it straight up until that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
some of that kind of stuff. Just as an aside, I kind of wondered about. But anyway,
yeah, that's almost like a Whedon-y line.
Except he rarely breaks the fourth wall in that way exactly.
Well, but I could see a character Buffy's. I could see Xander saying that, and someone being like, "You're not in a movie, right?" And he's like, "Well, no." But
yeah, but the problem is nobody says that afterwards.
That's true.
And also, he's not the only one who does it. You also have the lead girl,
the damsel in distress thing.
Yeah, but what I was going to say, who at the end has that line where she says, "I thought I could get through this without objectifying myself in a sexy cat fight." She knows she's in a movie in that moment.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't exactly reconcile that with the internal logic of the rest of the movie, but
yeah, I don't know. That just seems like postmodern dialogue. I don't know, that didn't jump out to me as that weird. I feel like we write like that all the time.
I don't think so. I think that's inconsistent with the rest of the movie. I think we skirt around it and get close, but that's that Ninja Turtles '87 thing, where just every now and again, all of a sudden, our characters know they're in a cartoon, and I don't understand that.
Yeah, but anyway, and neither did the '03 Turtles.
What do you? Oh yeah, they didn't understand that either. So anyway, you were talking about the effects, though.
No, I really like that. Like, he knew what his limits were. And when he couldn't get... He knew where he could go with the special effects, and he knows that that's not that far, and so it's intentionally a joke whenever he does things. But some of it looked really good.
Yeah.
Like the big was it Death
Moxis.
Death Moxis.
The moi is very important.
The Death Moxis. Like the costume itself is clearly like homemade. But the actual effects around him a lot of times looked pretty good for what it is. And some of the stuff where like it's clearly a miniature. I've seen a lot of Godzilla movies where like it's clearly a miniature. Like that's not far off from what actual professional films looked like in the 70s and 80s. And he's having some fun with that, and I really liked that. I don't know.
He's making fun of that stuff, but it's also a love letter to that stuff.
Well, and at the end he
could have done more CG, and he just didn't want to. I mean, I've listened to him talk about that, where he just wanted to do a lot of practical effects, and it's intentionally silly.
At the end when he talks about E.T. 2, when he kind of does his review for that, I really appreciate and love where he's like, well, this is just trying to be bad. Like, that's not nearly as endearing or as cool as when it's an actual disaster, which is a thing that I feel with a lot of, like, movies that are trying really hard to be bad, like all of the Sharknado films, where it's like, look how bad we are, and I'm like, yeah, I know, it's not funny when you're doing it on purpose.
I don't know. I think it can be, and you and I disagree on those films. I think they're funny, but the thing is, it's not as fun to rip into. Here's what doesn't work.
Yeah,
because it's trying to. Once it knows it, you have to either say it's not my sensibilities, I don't think that's funny, for me it didn't work, or you find yourself praising it for the things that you would otherwise be complaining about, with some other thing that would do precisely the same thing, because it's self-aware and it knows what it is.
Yeah, it becomes almost like...
They get close to review-proof,
yeah,
which is a term I don't like.
Yeah,
but...
yeah, because you can't tear into them like you can a movie that was made earnestly and turned out to be one of the worst things ever made. That's why I love The Room, is that guy thought he was making a masterpiece.
And so it's fun to rip into it.
Yeah, because it's terrible.
But this, I don't think, this as a piece itself, I think in the ways in which it's being bad on purpose, it's not stories.
No, it's always special effects stuff. It's things like that.
That's kind of nice. Like, this is a reviewable movie.
Absolutely.
Like, even in the context of the farce, there is a story here, and you can talk about it.
Yeah, and the story is...
I mean, it's incredibly goofy, but, like...
Yeah, but it works.
I think it works.
In a way that a lot of those 80s and 90s films that were, like, comedy... star vehicles.
And I'll go
don't.
as far as to say he has a real character arc, and it's kind of about something, even though it's through the lens of this really silly, conspiracy thing. Which, by the way, is another thing. Oh, cool. I honestly didn't know on this one. But I mean,
while we were watching,
I know
before
you
we
watched
it.
Even a little bit while we were watching. I wasn't sure where you'd come down. I wasn't sure you wouldn't say like I thought the funny things were funny, but overall, and a lot of people really disliked it. Like a lot of AVGN fans really hate it.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure why. I haven't looked real far into it, but yeah, and I think he was a little discouraged by that. But a lot of his big fan base really detested
That's such a
it.
bummer, because I have that with the Nostalgia Critic movies where I'm like, these are bad. They're not well written, they're not well directed, they're just not very good, but everyone seems to love them. So I'm really surprised that people didn't like this, because this is so far above those films.
Yeah, and like I feel like I can see his like passion and love for the material.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he clearly really wants to make
It's a massive passion project.
Yeah.
Now, some people were a little bit frustrated with how he did his Kickstarter, and that's neither here nor there, but I suspect that had something to do with some people's anger about it.
Because about that.
The main thing was that I think I might be remembering this incorrectly. It's been a while, but I believe the main thing was if you donated. There wasn't any way to get the movie for donating. Like, you donated, you still had to buy it, and I think that ticked a lot of people off.
That would tick me off.
And that's fair, but I wasn't part of the Kickstarter. I just went and saw the film, so like I don't have a dog in that fight.
Right.
I mean, I can side with one side or the other after the fact, but it's not going to really affect how I feel about watching the movie. You know, well, and it cost too much to watch when it came out, certainly. But I also am not sitting where he's sitting, and I don't know the ins and outs of all of that, so who am I to judge it, really?
Well, and if while he probably should have had something where you can get a copy of the movie if you donated,
I may be wrong about that. That's what I'm remembering people complaining about, but again, I didn't donate, so I wouldn't
But know. if it's clearly listed on
if I'm wrong
Kickstarter,
about that, folks,
that you won't, like, nothing says you get it, like, I don't know. Like, you can be angry that you think it should have been there, but if you donated and you knew that, I don't know if you really get to go.
Yeah,
but that's not.
But that's not here. And I don't just talk about the film. Yeah,
I literally have the information you just provided to me.
If it's information at all, that's what I remember.
Yeah. But no, I like this a lot. I thought everybody did a really good job.
How did you feel about the supporting cast?
I liked them. I thought the best friend guy was a little generic.
And clearly the actor was having the time of his life, but.
And he's not from any of... he's not his friend or, like, from any of his videos or anything, right? Yeah, I didn't think so.
No, so that's a little bit weird to tack that on, but then, like who would it be? Like, Mike Bataille or something? Like, I
don't know.
And it's been a somewhat running joke that the nerd doesn't know who Mike Bataille is, and that's not a person that he is... And Mike plays most of the people in costume that he beats up, so, like, it was probably smart not to have it be somebody that's appeared before. At the same time, there are actual characters in that show that come in and out that they could have put in as those actual characters. Like, we have a cameo by the guitar guy, but it would have been nice to have him as a character. But I'm not saying he should have been the guy who palled around with him the whole time.
No, I thought that guy was fine. I thought he was having fun. I thought he was a little generic. I didn't get him getting the girl thing at the end, other than just...
That came out of nowhere.
And other than just subverting standard movie cliche. It's really because I don't get it from her at all.
Which isn't as subversive as it used to be.
Because she's clearly into the nerd the entire movie, and that... It comes out of nowhere for everyone that she just goes along with it.
But I don't even know if she's remotely romantically into the nerd. Like, I
got that a little bit. In just standard movie love interest kind of a way. Like, she's offended when he's like, yeah, I'm not gonna come save you. There's something in that.
Right, but I think that's just because they're the only people that can come save her. Like,
it's when he's like, I don't like her.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? That's, I don't know.
But that was more about him than it was her, I think. Like, when she's playing video games with him, I don't get any sense whatsoever that she's supposed to be, like, actually enamored with him.
Well, it's hard to tell because she's supposed to be, like, playing both sides kind of a thing, and she's, like, undercover, kind of.
Yeah, but she's not at all. They just think that that's the case.
No, she is undercover for the company. Because remember, she's talking, she's like, there's just a bunch of dumb dorks.
Yeah, that's true.
No, it was weird because...
But I think she just comes to appreciate his personality. I'm honestly not sure that she's remotely actually romantically interested in that.
I don't know, I got that a little bit. And like, at the end, when the black guy has the speech, you're expecting them to kiss, and the black guy kisses her, and I don't... Like, it just came out of nowhere, and I was like, I didn't get that from anything.
No, that came out of nowhere. I do like the idea that the nerd is almost completely asexual. I think that's really funny.
Yeah.
And consistent with his videos, but
I thought the girl was fine. She's distanced from the cast a little bit too long. We're like, when
she gets kidnapped way too quickly,
and when we kept cutting back to her, like the cat fight thing, like we kept coming back to her, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, you're still doing things.
And you've been up on this fake Eiffel Tower for like 40 minutes.
Yeah. That stuff's a little tedious.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it's not bad. I liked it.
The bad guy's funny.
The bad guy's really funny. I wish we could have gotten more accidents. Because we just get the 2.
But I like that he's always responsible for them himself, just doing stupid things. And I think Dark Onward's a funny name.
There's a lot of funny names in this.
Yeah.
Like ridiculous, really bad, funny names.
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of what appeals to me is all the is all the goofy, clever details. Like, I'm a real sucker for that kind of stuff. And the whole
signs in Las Vegas are like that. There's a lot of stuff in there. One just said cheese.
Yeah. Yeah,
CHEEZ, cheese.
I really appreciate, which is what the movie is. I really appreciate the way a lot of the Easter eggs are handled, and I'm sure I picked up on a lot more than you would because you haven't watched as much of his stuff as me. I know it's weird. I'm apparently almost a super.
But they feel like Easter eggs as opposed to self-indulgent, like stopping the movie and being like, you know, I do this, right?
Well, you could complain that the Top Gun thing is that way, but I think it's set up really well.
No, it is. I think so.
I think that one's really funny, and I just like the idea because the thing is, there's a continuity with the Top Gun thing in his videos. He goes back and re-reviews that, and he still can't land the plane, and it's just a thing he's constantly doing. So, like, if you're a fan of his videos, we see some things from the series pay off, which I kind of appreciate. So, like, him having to land an actual plane and then going, screw it, I'm just not even going to try, is really funny, like, if you're familiar. But I think all that stuff plays okay if you're not, too. Like, I took Brandon, and he had seen maybe 3 or 4 videos total, and he enjoyed the film, so...
Yeah, it sets up all the references it's going to pay off and things like that. So you, even if you're coming in blind, you can get it.
And you notice there are places where it's a little worried that you won't get them, like specifically with the Top Gun thing, where it feels the need, and I didn't need this, but again, I don't know if that's just because I know the stuff, but like it felt the need to flash back to him playing it for a second before he decides not to land it, just in case you don't get the reference. So that's that thing.
There is a complaint I'm gonna make that is kind of funny, and it's not James Rolfe's fault, it's no one in the film's fault, it's the American legal system's fault. And this film 100% falls under parody. There is no reason he shouldn't be able to use footage for games or game titles like Call of Duty.
Yeah, but the more I've thought about that, I think that's all intentional, and because so here's the thing. I think he's making fun of things that have to avoid copyright. The more I'm thinking about it, yeah, because as you suggested as we were watching it, it's somewhat inconsistent about that. And like, for instance, when you shoot inside a store like that, and of course that's, I'm assuming it's a redress of an actual store, or they might have set it up entirely. I don't know. But there are real games and posters of real things all over the place. There's a Far Cry poster in the background, and there are things that you recognize. When you shoot someplace and there are incidental things, there's like nobody's going to sue you for that. It's really just when you're using the stuff, you know, like within the story, or like obviously elements of a thing. Like if you put a Power Ranger in a thing, obviously you can't get away with that. But as you say, it is parody. I think he's just making fun of that stuff. And I think at the beginning, when they're using when they make up new footage that's clearly supposed to be parodies of different games, it's so that he can get away with using jokes that if you're a fan you'll recognize. Instead of like reshooting old reviews. I mean, I think that's part of why he's doing that, and just because it's kind of funny to see him lampoon the stuff he's lampooned by making stupid things that look like it. I think that's why it's doing that.
Okay.
And so like the Call of Duty thing, I think he could have walked in with a Call of Duty disc and talked about it, but it was funnier because it was like an amalgamation of 2 or 3 things.
It was like Call of War 3000.
Yeah, and he doesn't like so he was putting like 3 or 4 things together, and he doesn't care for a lot of modern games, and so he's making fun of that.
Okay, I know that was distracting to me. That was the can in the fridge that says soda kind of distracting, where I was like, well, that okay. I don't know. That felt weird to me.
Yeah, that's fair. It did to me too the first time, a little bit. But I'm not 100% that I'm right about that. And it might be rights issues with certain things, where there's some things that he knew he could get away with and other things that he didn't. So like, he can't, he's not going to have the license to like show the box for E.T. and the movie and stuff, but he's able somehow to show the actual game footage. So I'm not sure about some of that.
Yeah, that seems weird to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, that was all real confusing. And it took me a little bit to realize I thought ET2 was being spelled weird, and then I saw the actual game and they spell it that way, and I'm like,
on purpose.
Yeah, but I didn't get that until I saw the actual game. I didn't get that when they announced ET2 and it was spelled like that it was like avoiding copyright. Like I thought they were just spelling it weird.
But they show you the original cartridge before they even show you the ET2 card disc. I
totally missed it.
No, that's cool. But like in the opening, they show you that. They front load that real hard.
Okay,
with that teaser.
I completely missed that. That it was spelled weird, anyways. But yeah.
Again, I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's hard to tell how much some of that, how intentional some of that is. I think the scientist guy is really good.
Yeah. He's really good. I thought the guy that actually made E.T. was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was kind of nice. It was kind of fun that they got him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has the motivational speech. I like that.
I wish there was, for no reason, like text being like, "This is the real guy."
Yeah,
like something like that.
I don't,
because you had to tell me, and I was going to ask, like, is that the real guy?
Did you notice a car drives up and he gets out, and then after his speech, he just walks off and he doesn't get back in the car.
No,
he just walks away.
Did he do no other games after E.T.? Like, what's his life like?
I forget.
I'm interested.
Well,
I'm curious.
That is okay. That is the one reason to go watch that other movie, because he's all over it. Yeah.
Okay. I watched the first 10 minutes.
He's interviewed. Okay, well, fast forward and listen to his stuff, because that's all interesting.
Okay, cool.
I won't get into it here, but yeah, he's an interesting guy.
Interesting.
But it's cool that was there. What did you think of the YouTube celebrity cameos? Were there too many? Did it encroach on it too much? I mean, I think a lot of them you didn't know, and I had to point out to you.
Yeah, I didn't know some of them. I knew some of them.
I mean, and I'm sure there are a few that I don't know.
None of them really bothered me.
I'm gonna look like I watch YouTube videos all day. I don't. It's just I know a lot of things.
He just watches the nerd videos all day.
No, not all day. But stop that. but I know some of these by proxy because I've watched him. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I knew some of them through other like I knew Pat the NS nerd because he did a Highlander video with Spoonie and like a couple of things like that. Like, I didn't actually see anyone that I watch except for Nostalgia Critic.
Well, have you seen the NES Championship AVGN movie video? Because that's the one he's in.
I don't know if I've seen that or not.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, he's in that one, and but yeah, like he's the AVGN is the reason that I know who Lloyd Kaufman is. And he has a cameo in this movie, and he had just started doing interviews and things with him before this, and so when I went to the movie, I knew who that was.
And I knew him because I just watched the Fantastic Four documentary, The Doom.
And he's in that.
So, none of them really bothered me. I thought the one when everyone was playing E.T. was borderlining on self-indulgent for just like YouTube.
Because it was like 4 or 5 in a row. They just kept
it's a bunch of them. But
and also, it's hard to believe that all those people were playing that game right then.
And he could have found a better, like knowing the history with him and Nostalgia Critic, like I feel like he could have found a better cameo for him.
Yeah.
Especially because he's not a video game person. Like that made no sense.
Yeah, that's true.
It confused me. Took me right out of the movie. No, no, it was like 5 or 6 of them in a row, and I was like, yeah, there's all those people that like I've seen in things. Okay. But other than that, I didn't even really mind that. But I thought that was the closest the movie came to being irritating with that. Because most of the other people are just like in crowd shots or like in one scene, and they don't make a big deal. Like the one guy who comes up to him in the Game Cops,
which is great.
Which, by the way, is he fired? He just didn't come back to work.
I would assume so. He shouldn't go back. That guy has a gun. He should not come back. Herb should not come back.
But that guy, he's just in a scene, and like they don't make like a big deal out of it, or like this is somebody you should know. And you told me that.
Are you talking about Black Nerd?
Yeah.
Andre Meadows.
Yeah.
He's fun. He likes Powerpuff Girls.
Does he? Oh yeah, you told me that.
He likes a lot of things I like. Yeah. So I got to tell you an amusing anecdote. When I went to see this, and it was a packed house, because I mean people like me, I think, traveled to see it because there were only a few theaters and it was one night only, and it's kind of too bad I wasn't able to go to one that Ralph was at.
It's weird that he would do a one night showing without being there.
Ralph went to he couldn't go to all of them, but he sent people that you'd be familiar with from his channel to some of the ones he didn't go to, but ours had nobody, and that was unfortunate. Cool. You know, it would have been really cool if at least Mike or somebody was there, but but nobody was there, and but it was still worth seeing. It was a really cool theater. It was downtown in St. Louis, where the actually in Clayton, Missouri. So so you've been to downtown St. Louis. Not too far away from there is Clayton, which has also a really killer downtown. And there's a really cool independent movie theater that is right that is just a block away from where Star Clipper used to be. That comic shop that I did in the documentary. And going to see this movie was how I found it. And so we actually interviewed them the night after we saw the movie. We actually, and they were open late. So we finished the movie, went in there, and I asked him if he'd let me shoot the store the next day. And so that's how we got that tacked on into the documentary. So in the documentary, it looks like we went there on the actual trip. We cheated. That was actually me and Brandon by ourselves. I didn't have the whole crew there, but that was a store I had wanted to go to that we couldn't fit in, and they let me shoot there.
That's awesome.
So anyway, that was super cool. But the anecdote I wanted to tell you was when we got to the end of the movie, before credits, and he says he's going to review the game, and then it fades out, some of the crowd booed because they didn't think they were actually going to get to see the review. And so the movie is like building up to the review the whole time, and then it goes to what looks like credits, and some people were like livid and thought that they weren't going to see the review, and then 10 seconds later he starts reviewing it, and I thought that was hilarious.
No, that's way smarter, because you don't want to end your movie with a review. Like, that's weird.
And then go to credits?
Yeah. Doesn't that seem weird? Like, your movie just stops and becomes a review? Like, I know that it's an internet thing. It almost feels more legitimate to do it the way he did it.
I think so, too, yeah. But at the same time, I think it was because it faded out. And there was a finality to it.
But it's the 80s movie thing of like,
no, absolutely. Yeah. No, it was Last Starfighter, most assuredly. But he could have had the neon lights thing and everything. But no, I liked... I think that's one of actually the best closing credits choices I've seen in a long time, because there's a lot of credits and there's a reason to sit through them, and it's not just, oh, here's some outtakes, or...
Although, you know, it's weird, because I felt like he was more stilted in that review than he was in the rest of the entire movie.
Well, that's because he's sitting in front of a microphone.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt kind of unnatural.
But I mean, I can see both sides of that, because also it sounds like one of his normal reviews. You know, he has to like almost go back and channel what he did a decade ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And like maybe he could just stop doing that and be a little bit more expressive. But I'm pretty sure that's what he was going for there. I don't know.
But yeah.
But anyway, you caught the Ninja Turtles 3 thing with when she drops off the tower, and then they do the effect where she just disappears. Yeah. You know, things like that I really appreciated.
See, but even if you didn't catch that, you would think that was just them intentionally making fun of, like, bad green screen or something like that. Like, I think a lot of that stuff, I think this movie could almost completely play blind.
Oh, it does, yeah.
So,
but what's funny is that's like a double reference, because it's not just referencing Ninja Turtles 3. Like he has a very popular video where he makes fun of that, and I think pointed that out to a lot of people that either hadn't noticed it or were like, oh, finally somebody made fun of that, and so like it's a reference to his own canon too. I also, for the first time, caught that the AVGN video game is in the opening. It's actually the only real game that's in the opening.
Did you? Should we talk about the Joker guy before we close out? Sure. So for like 10 seconds, there's a guy on the screen that I was like, "Is that the guy that works for the Joker in Dark Knight and Gotham?" Totally is. Looked it up on IMDb.
He shows up in everything Eric and I watch.
He's in everything.
If Eric and I watch anything that's made in the last 3 years, he's gonna frickin' be there.
We should just become big fans of that guy. We should go watch everything he's been in.
We should, yeah.
I mean, we're already doing that unintentionally.
We should make like a fan site. We should make like a video series
and we should never,
about that guy.
We should never memorize his name. He should just be that Joker guy.
No, we don't know who that is. He's just that Joker guy. There's real typecast here too, man. He's always playing that exact same role. No, he wasn't.
No,
not at all.
Just like a government guy.
Well, anyway, I know this remains a strange thing that I enjoy, but there are certain of my sensibilities that I'm sure it makes perfect sense. Especially, yeah. I meant to say this earlier, especially the Death Moxes thing, because when he now his friend. I don't know how he knows about Death Moxes. I have no idea where that guy... He's the only person that seems to know about that.
You know what they don't acknowledge? That if everything else he believes is true, the Earth must be flat?
Yes. It's great. And
they don't acknowledge that.
It's the best explanation for flat Earth I've ever heard, right? Well, if you photograph it in any direction, you only see it from one side. And
it goes around like a conveyor belt.
It goes around like a conveyor belt. That's so funny.
That's how you get day and night.
So
we fall off gravity.
That is wonderfully absurd and ridiculous and uses this great, hilarious logic. But then the bologna sandwich. That is the most Hitchhiker thing I've seen in anything that's not Hitchhiker.
Well, and it's funny because you said bologna sandwich, I'm like, I feel like that's obvious. And then when he got into the whole thing about how it's not large or small because there's no relativity, was you referred to it as scaleless?
Yeah,
it's scaleless. I was like, okay, that's brilliant.
That's very funny.
Yep.
But anyway, well, folks, thanks for watching. We sure appreciate it. And I should mention that our last two videos we accidentally posted out of order. Our last two He-Movie watches. So if you watch them in order, which I imagine if you've been watching
all of these, the cliffhanger at the end, or the setup at the end of Star Trek V is for Buckaroo Banzai, not
referencing
for
Buckaroo
this?
Banzai. So you will have watched two of my choices in a row, but that only means that you also inadvertently watched two of Eric's in a row.
Yes.
So, I think, and that's how that would have had to have worked, yeah. So, anyway, Eric will be choosing next time. We'll get it right back on track.
Yeah, it'll either be the one thing that I talked about earlier, and if we can't do that in time, it'll be something else that might kind of tie into this movie. We'll see.
Okay, cool. But yeah, this is actually kind of the thing to tie that I was trying to tie to a Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah,
because they're both so
it's
weird.
Oh yeah, because at the end of Buckaroo Banzai, you set up
this. Yeah,
so
exactly.
So yeah, the correct viewing order is Star Trek V, which has me setting up Buckaroo Banzai, and Buckaroo Banzai is you setting up.
But before that, importantly, Prometheus, because.
Yes.
Because Prometheus and Star Trek V were also a duology.
Yes. So it goes Prometheus, Star Trek V, Buckaroo Banzai, Angry Video Game Nerd Movie.
Yeah. These we actually had duos here. We had pairs. So we'll see what we can match up next time.
Was it an accident, or was it? Or was it like a Lucas thing?
You be the judge. The thing with
it's non-linear reviewing.
And I will say, I did intentionally choose Star Trek V out of things I knew I was going to pick on my list because of the amusing way that it connected to Prometheus. However, this I did not line up that way on purpose. It just kind of was a happy accident, and decided for sure, okay, because we did that, I will definitely do the next one I was probably going to do anyway.
Buckaroo Banzai is the kind of movie that I think he would make if he wasn't making a nerd movie.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I want to see him do. I want to see him do something like that.
I think he'd be more likely to make horror films, though.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean that's his big love. Like all of the most of the short films he's made have been horror films.
I feel like most of the short films most people make are horror films.
Yeah,
I feel like they're cheap and
Is it
easy
just
to make.
they're cheap? Yeah,
Because that's what Rare Media does too. Most of their early films are all horror films too.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks again for watching, folks, and we will see you again next time.
And your Spawn Year is a horror film in a way as well. When you have no budget, make a horror film.
But in my defense, that was because of the subject matter.
It's
you
true.
know, you play to whatever your subject is. The next one will not be so much that. But anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. For what, the third time? I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
We'll see you next time.